Mike Tyson's journey from the gritty streets of Brooklyn to becoming a boxing legend is one filled with trials, triumphs, and an unyielding spirit. His first amateur fight was not just another match. It was a defining moment that would shape his future in ways he could not yet comprehend. In a smoky gym in the Bronx, owned by former boxer Nelson Cus, he was thrust into a world that was both brutal and exhilarating. These fights, known as smokers, were unsanctioned and chaotic, attracting an audience that craved violence rather than applause. There were no rules, no medics, and the air was thick with cigarette smoke, creating an atmosphere charged with raw energy. Tyson's debut wasn't just about boxing, it was about survival. He faced fierce competition, often against older opponents, yet he navigated this dangerous landscape with a mix of fear and determination. This was not just a physical battle, but a psychological one, as he grappled with self-doubt and the fear of failing in front of a critical audience. At that moment, with the crowd's eyes upon him, the stakes were impossibly high. Yet, it was in this unrefined world of underground boxing that Tyson began to hone his skills and develop the fierce reputation that would later make him a global phenomenon. This introduction to the brutal reality of boxing would serve as the cornerstone of his legendary career, one built on both heartache and hope, shaping him into the fighter we would come to know as Iron Mike. The Bronx Gym and the Smoker Fights. Mike Tyson's first foray into the boxing ring took place in a legendary gym located in the Bronx, a place where the tough and tenacious gathered for unsanctioned bouts known as smokers. This gym, owned by a former boxer named Nelson Cus, was more than just a training ground. It represented the raw, gritty essence of street fighting and boxing culture. The environment was unrefined, filled with clouds of cigarette smoke that enveloped the air, creating a suffocating yet thrilling atmosphere for fighters and spectators alike. These smoke-filled fights were infamous for their lack of structure and regulation. There were no medics or safety protocols, which made each fight a true test of grit and determination. The crowd, often filled with gangsters and local toughs, didn't just cheer on the fights. They embodied the very spirit of the Bronx, a community built on resilience and toughness. Competitors faced not only each other, but also the intimidating pressure of a rowdy, sometimes hostile audience. Fighters often had to prove themselves against older, more experienced opponents, pushing their limits in an unforgiving environment. As Tyson stepped into the ring for his very first amateur fight, the stakes were high. He was not just fighting for glory. He was battling fear, insecurity, and a need to establish himself in an arena where many fought to survive. The experience at the Bronx Gym, filled with its lawless charm and brutal reality, would ignite the flame of Tyson's boxing career, setting him on a path that would lead to greatness. The intimidation and stakes before the fight. Even after intense sparring with seasoned fighters, Mike was gripped by a wave of intimidation that almost made him second-guess his path and consider backing out of the fight altogether. He stood there, feeling the electricity in the air, surrounded by a boisterous crowd that expected blood, that thrived on violence. And, as the bell rang, Mike felt the weight of both anticipation and fear pressing down on him. This was unlike anything he'd experienced in the streets of Brooklyn. The stakes this time felt personal, and the anxiety bubbled within him. What if he didn't live up to the training, the hours spent honing his skills under Cus' watchful eye? The fighters in the ring weren't just opponents. They were older, stronger guys who'd tasted battle and spat out fear, which only amplified his nerves. He could hear the jeering of the spectators, and their voices became a cacophony, a reminder of what awaited him. Just moments before the fight, his trainer, Teddy Atlas, tried to alleviate some of that pressure, telling him to focus on the techniques that Cus instilled in him, guiding him back to the moment, but it was hard. Thoughts raced through his mind. What if he failed? Glancing at the hulking figure of his opponent, a wave of doubt passed over him. Yet, deep down, Tyson knew he had to overcome this fear, not just for himself, but to honor the lessons and sacrifices that went into his preparation. This fight was the true test, the moment where fear and courage collided, and it was a choice he had to make to stand tall or retreat. The first bout, an unexpected victory. Mike Tyson's first amateur fight was nothing short of legendary. It began in a gritty gym in the Bronx, a place buzzing with raw energy and smoky air. On that fateful night, Mike stood nervously in the corner of the ring, eyeing his opponent, a much older Puerto Rican fighter with a towering afro. The atmosphere was electric as the crowd erupted with cheers and jeers, creating a chaotic symphony that would echo in Mike's memory forever. He was just 18, but the stakes felt monumental. As the bell rang, Mike's heart raced, and his fear threatened to hold him back. But with each round, he found his rhythm, his training flooding back to him. It was almost as if time slowed down. He could sense danger, anticipate punches, and weave into his signature movements. Round by round, Mike displayed relentless determination, his speed and power overwhelming his opponent. When the third round came, with fiery resolve, Mike landed a devastating combination, knocking his opponent into the bottom rope. The crowd gasped as his mouthpiece flew from his mouth, landing 6 rows back in the audience. Mike's opponent was out cold, and the atmosphere shifted from tension to pure exhilaration. In that moment, Mike felt ecstasy, an adrenaline rush like no other. It was love at first fight, and his victory marked the beginning of an incredible legacy. He didn't know how to celebrate, so instead, he raised his arms in triumph, stepping on his fallen foe in a primal display of triumph. Referees and spectators were stunned, yet excited. His trainer, Cus D'Amato, waiting anxiously, received a phone call detailing the electrifying event, and he couldn't contain his pride, sharing the news with friends. This fight wasn't just a victory. It was a pivotal moment, shaping the fierce champion Mike would become. Going back to smokers and building a reputation. After his electrifying debut victory, Mike Tyson found himself drawn back to the smoky gyms of the Bronx, where the atmosphere buzzed with raw energy and danger. These smokers quickly began to shape his future, forging his reputation as a ruthless fighter. Each unsanctioned bout was more than just a fight. It was an opportunity to test his skills against tougher, older adversaries, who often weighed more than he did. Mike didn't just participate, he dominated. The smoke-filled rooms were alive with the sounds of fists connecting and the shouts of an electrified crowd, pushing fighters and spectators alike to the edge. Winning these fights was crucial for Mike, not only to establish his dominance, but, more importantly, to escape the harsh realities of his upbringing. The rough-and-tumble environment provided a new kind of adrenaline, beyond what he'd experienced on the streets of Brooklyn. Mike quickly earned respect through his ferocity, with every victory solidifying his standing among the local fighters. As he kept returning to these smokers, he honed his technique and tactical prowess, while absorbing invaluable lessons about resilience and strategy. The fighters he faced were often battle-hardened and had a repertoire of tricks. Yet, Mike was relentless, combining his natural instincts with the powerful teachings of Cus D'Amato. With each fight, his confidence grew, and alongside it, his reputation transformed. Mike Tyson was no longer just a name. He was becoming a force, feared in the ring, and admired by many. This journey through the smoker fights was essential, as it laid the foundation for a legendary boxing career, forever changing his life trajectory. Role of Cus D'Amato in Mike's transformation. Cus D'Amato wasn't just a coach for Mike Tyson. He was a father figure, a mentor who deeply influenced Mike's life and career. Cus understood Mike's raw talent and the chaos in his upbringing, guiding him toward a disciplined path that would define his future. With Cus' tough love, he instilled the importance of mental strength, resilience, and focus, transforming Mike from a street fighter into a world-class boxer. D'Amato taught Mike the art of boxing, yes, but more importantly, he taught him life lessons that transcended the ring. Cus emphasized the need for a strong mindset, helping Mike learn to control his emotions and channel his aggression positively. Through rigorous training, he shaped Mike's technical skills, paving the way for his explosive style. Cus' influences went beyond the physical aspect of boxing, instilling in Mike a sense of purpose and the desire for greatness. He often spoke about immortality in the sport, emphasizing that true champions are remembered long after their time. With each victory, Mike began to connect the dots, understanding that his triumphs were not just for glory, but also for a deeper legacy. This philosophy became the cornerstone of Mike's transformation, motivating him to achieve success in ways he never imagined. Cus believed in Mike even when the world doubted him, fostering an unshakable bond built on mutual respect and love. Ultimately, D'Amato's teachings became the blueprint for Mike's rise to fame, and Tyson never forgot the lessons learned under the watchful eye of his mentor, illustrating the profound impact of a dedicated trainer on the life of an athlete. Mike's struggles outside the ring. Mike Tyson's life outside the ring was far from easy. His rise to fame often contrasted sharply with his personal struggles. Growing up in Brownsville, Brooklyn, Mike faced intense challenges. His childhood was marked by poverty, violence, and instability. The streets taught him to fight hard, but they also left deep scars, making it difficult for him to trust others. He often felt isolated, caught between his desire for acceptance and the harsh realities of his environment. School was another battleground. Struggling academically and facing bullying, Mike found it hard to fit in. Teachers and peers did not understand him, and he often felt like an outcast. Despite the promising future in boxing, he battled an internal struggle with self-worth, questioning whether he truly deserved success. His relationship with Cus D'Amato was crucial, yet even this mentorship couldn't shield him entirely from the weight of his past. The pressure to succeed weighed heavily on him, leading to moments of doubt and fear. He wanted to be seen as a champion, not just in the ring, but also in life, wrestling with the expectations set upon him. Furthermore, Tyson grappled with the looming threat of street life, constantly reminded of the dangers that surrounded him. Friends fell victim to violence, and the loss of those close to him compounded his feelings of vulnerability. Outside the ring, there was a constant reminder that his real fight would always be about surviving, navigating through a world that often felt unforgiving and hostile. Yet, through it all, Mike held on to the hope that his boxing career would be the path to freedom, transforming his life for the better. Mike's early success and hunger for glory. Mike Tyson's ascent in boxing was nothing short of meteoric, marked by his fierce determination and insatiable hunger for glory. After a series of tough smokers, where he faced older and more experienced fighters, Tyson secured his spot in the Junior Olympics, an opportunity that would define his early career. Winning that gold medal was more than just a victory. It was a declaration, a statement that he was destined for greatness. Tyson's explosive style and raw power in the ring left spectators awestruck, many of whom could hardly believe that this fierce fighter was only a teenager. At just 15 years old, he became a local hero, but the pressure to perform continued to mount, despite the accolades. Mike felt an unyielding drive for more. He understood the need to separate himself from the pack. Each fight was a step towards his ultimate goal of being recognized as one of the greats. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Tyson was not fighting solely for financial gain. Instead, he sought something deeper. He wanted fame, respect, and to be remembered throughout history. Cus D'Amato, his mentor, played a pivotal role in shaping this ambition, as he taught Mike that true greatness lay in immortality, being renowned and revered long after one's last match. This philosophy fueled Tyson's desire, driving him through grueling training sessions, pushing him beyond limits. He wasn't just boxing. He was carving his legacy, making every punch count, knowing that each victory brought him closer to his dream of leaving an indelible mark on the sport and ensuring his name echoes in the annals of boxing history. Talk about a fighter whose heart and hunger were reflected in everything he did. Mindset and mission that fueled Tyson's rise. Mike Tyson's ascent in the boxing world was more than just luck or raw talent. It was fueled by an unyielding mindset and a fierce mission, deeply ingrained by his mentor, Cus D'Amato. This relationship sparked a transformation in Tyson, turning a troubled youth into a formidable force in the ring. From an early age, Mike learned that dedication and discipline were crucial, a lesson that CUC emphasized relentlessly. He taught Mike to embrace his fear and channel it into energy, pushing him to train harder and focus on his goals. Every punch, every drop of sweat became a step closer to achieving not only victory, but also respect. Cus instilled in Tyson the belief that greatness necessitates sacrifice. This mindset drove Mike to train tirelessly, often pushing himself beyond his limits, while others opted for a more typical teenage life. The endless hours in the gym, combined with a hunger for glory, distinguished Tyson from his peers. He sought not just to win titles, but to carve out a legacy that would last long after his career ended. Each fight was another opportunity to prove himself, not only to the world, but also to the doubters from his past. This relentless pursuit shaped his style, ferocious, calculated, and fearless. As he stepped into the ring, he carried with him not just physical strength, but a profound sense of purpose, rooted in the teachings of Cus. This duality of mindset and mission created a warrior spirit, one that took Tyson from the streets of Brooklyn to the pinnacle of boxing fame, ensuring that his name would echo through history long after the final bell. Mike Tyson's journey is nothing short of remarkable, punctuated by hardships and triumphant victories. He emerged from the chaotic streets of Brooklyn and into the boxing ring, where he would eventually become a household name. The impact of his first amateur fight in that gritty Bronx gym reverberates throughout his life, as it set the stage for a remarkable career. With mentors like Cus D'Amato guiding him, Tyson learned not only the art of boxing, but also the importance of mental discipline and emotional resilience. As he weathered troubles outside the ring, including school challenges and social adjustment, Tyson's unwavering focus on his goals helped him rise above. His pursuit wasn't merely for wealth or fame. It was about leaving a legacy that would echo through time. Winning the gold medal at the Junior Olympics represented a defining moment, validating months of hard work and sacrifice. With each fight, Tyson's hunger for greatness grew, driving him to push beyond limits that many thought impossible. His story serves as a powerful reminder that success often stems from the most challenging beginnings, and that true greatness is achieved not just through talent, but with relentless perseverance, a strong support system, and a purpose larger than oneself. As Tyson reflects on his life, it becomes clear that his path was forged through trials and triumphs, making him not just a champion, but a legendary figure in sports history. This enduring legacy of Mike Tyson, filled with lessons of tenacity and transformation, continues to inspire aspiring boxers and fans around the world, demonstrating that every champion has a unique story worth telling.